So we don't know what St. Paul's weakness was. He called it a thorn in the flesh. But it kept him humble. It kept the great apostle humble, and he made the statement that in weakness, power reaches perfection. And God said, my grace is enough for you, Paul. Marvelous. So all of us have our strengths, and we also have our Achilles heels that keep us humble and in need of God's grace. I want to talk to you this morning about the gospel. Have you ever been rejected? Have you ever been told that we don't want you anymore? We don't like you. We don't need you. Please leave. Have you ever experienced rejection? Well, I think we all have, in one way or another, as we go through life. But we're in very good company. Look what happened to Jesus of Nazareth this morning. He grew up in this little town. There might have been 300-400 people, and they knew him since childhood. They went to the synagogue with him every Saturday. They knew his family, and he was the village carpenter. Everybody knew him. So he goes back home. Now he's the rabbi, and he's gifted from God with healing and with curing and with miracles and with teaching. Extremely gifted. Now, wouldn't you think, if you were a Nazarene, you'd say, hey, isn't one of our own? Isn't this great? Isn't it wonderful? I used to play ball with him when he was a kid, and now he's curing people. Isn't this terrific? No. You could taste the resentment and the jealousy. Where did he get all this? Who does he think he is? Where did he get all this wisdom? He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe their lack of faith, and he had to leave. He had to leave. And in another gospel, I think it's Matthew, they literally threw him out of town. Talk about experiencing rejection. Okay? So how do you handle rejection when it happens to you? What do? How do you handle it? How did he handle it? You know what he did? He moved from that little town, Nazareth, which is on the way to nowhere. It's Nowheresville. He moved to Lake Winnipesaukee. I'm not kidding you, he did. He moved to the Sea of Galilee, this beautiful seaside town called Capernaum. And he spent 3 years in Capernaum, where he taught and where he healed and where he cured and where he performed miracles. And where he chose his apostles. He moved to seaside, lakeside property. And who lost out? The people who rejected. He could have stayed there and made that his headquarters. But he moved to Lake Winnipesaukee. Now we all experience rejection. We're not alone. I have a list here, which I'm just going to go over a few of them, but Walt Disney was fired as a cartoonist by a newspaper, and the editor said that Walt Disney lacked imagination. Thomas Edison was told that he was too stupid to learn anything. I think he was dyslexic. I think he was. His mother didn't buy that. Albert Einstein did not speak until he was 4 years old. He couldn't read until he was 7. His teachers described him as mentally slow, unsociable, and adrift in his foolish dreams. Albert Einstein. Henry Ford went broke 5 times before he succeeded. Babe Ruth. How many home runs did Babe Ruth hit? Anybody know? All right. You know how many times he struck out? I got it right in front of me. Twice that. He struck out 1,330 times. But he didn't focus on that. He didn't focus on his failures, his rejections, his strikeouts. Okay? I love this. Winston Churchill flunked the 6th grade. How did we ever win the war? I have no idea. But if you go through the list, it's quite remarkable. Michael Jordan didn't make his high school basketball team. His coach said he wasn't good enough. That was when he was a sophomore. Ted Turner was suspended from Brown University twice, and then he dropped out. I don't know if he ever got his degree. Ted Turner. I think probably the greatest actor in the world, in my opinion, is Anthony Hopkins. But you know who I think is a great actor? Robin Williams. He can do comedy, he can do serious drama, and people say that I remind them of Robin Williams. So you can say that Robin Williams said mass today, but Robin Williams was voted by his classmates in high school as the least likely to succeed. It's extraordinary. Katharine Hepburn got kicked out of Bryn Mawr College for smoking a cigarette. So you've got all of these things. Now, how you handle it is part of life, and how you handle it. The men's group, we had a retreat in May on the different stages of life, and it says as we get older, hopefully we're going to grow old, and we're going to be, all of us, we're going to be old fools. But there are different kinds of old fools. You can be a pathetic old fool, and a pathetic old fool is somebody who tries to dress and act like a teenager when they're a senior citizen. It's pathetic. But then you can become an embittered old fool. Now, the embittered old fool is the one who won't let the rejections go. They resent it. They feed the resentment. And then as they grow older, they become embittered. And none of us want it to be that. But that's one choice. One choice. We can become embittered, or we can become a holy old fool. And the holy old fool is the one who moves to Lake Winnipesaukee. You have to let it go. You have to let it go. You can't focus on that for the rest of your life. So I just throw that out. It happened to Jesus Christ, our Savior. It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. I remember when I was in high school, in the 9th grade, I met somebody who didn't like me and was kind of like a bully. And I came home and I told my father I've met someone who doesn't like me. And I had never experienced that until the 9th grade. At least they didn't tell me they didn't like me, but I found out in the 9th grade that someone didn't like me. And I figured that this guy must have real problems. I don't know what it was. But my dad helped me with that. He said, well, do you like everybody? And I had, well, I think I do. But, it's true. It's true. You can't assume that everybody's going to like you, but you can't focus on that. You have to focus on the positive, as Jesus did. Please stand now.